Hello to you, sister. Very good afternoon to you, your viewers, your listeners. Thank you for the invitation. Happy to have the opportunity to share.
Yes, great to have you. How are you holding up? I mean, I'm seeing you everywhere,
I'm
everywhere.
I'm holding up well. Grace of God. She's not that young anymore. She's middle aged, but the wife of a friend of mine saw me first time in a long time today in a supermarket yard over the place. Said, "But Joe, you're looking very young." It's the grace
Yes,
of God. It's the grace of God.
yes,
God always knows what He has in mind. Sometimes we don't fully understand what He is doing. I view my presence in the Parliament of Barbados, my involvement in the political process in Barbados is very much a part of my Christian calling. I'm called to serve the people in their interest, but ultimately for the glory of God. I'm called to serve this country. We do that in the institutional context of Parliament as well. And I believe that God has given me the opportunity to be there. Right now, I occupy the position of leader of the opposition. Now, I'll tell you something which several people do know. And many years ago, the Lord birthed it in my bosom. Hello? Yeah, are you hearing me?
yes, we are. We
I
are.
was saying several years ago, the Lord birthed it in my bosom. I was even in the cabinet of Barbados at that time. So you're going back to 2006, 2007, that one of these days I would have a significant role to play in the opposition life of the Parliament of Barbados and in the life of the people of Barbados through the role of opposition leader in this country. I was a
Can you
cabinet
repeat that? I want you to repeat that because how long ago was that?
way back to 2006, 2006, 2007. And the Lord put in my spirit, birthed in my bosom, that one of these days, somehow I'm going to have to play a significant role in the institutional life of Barbados with respect to the Parliament, the role of some opposition presence that would be significant. I could not imagine that back then what that would have been. I was a member of the governing party. I was in the cabinet of Barbados as a minister of government, serving in the prime minister's office and all of that. But that was there in my bosom. That stayed with me. Even in the 2018 election campaign period, 3, 4, 5 weeks leading up to the actual election date, there are those on the other side in the Barbados Party parliamentary group right now who can tell you we will go canvassing in the afternoon into the early night, and then we will take a break, come and relax together around a little bit of refreshment at the Chefette in Warren. And I would say, and I don't want to call the names, but I would say to them, look, I know you are going to win your seat, and I know you will probably win your seat. I likely perhaps will win mine as well, but I have a feeling and it's strong inside of me that we are going to be sitting on opposite sides. There's no way that I could have known the election result would have been 30-love. But when the result came back as 30-love, it started to come to me that maybe this is the role that the Lord had identified for me and birthed in my bosom way back 2006, 2007. And the only result at that time that could have taken me across the aisle, the parliamentary aisle, the political aisle, to occupy any seat in the opposition of Barbados, having won on a Barbados Labour Party ticket, would have been the fact that there was nobody over there and that there was no opposition presence. And the Constitution of Barbados requires and prescribes that there be somebody occupying the space institutionally in the Parliament of Barbados that represents the alternative opinion, the opposition voice. And I readily understood that that was the role the Lord had for me. I was able, because of virtue of that office, to have a say in the appointment of judges, to have a say in the appointment of people to the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, to have a significant say in the nomination of our first Native President, Her Excellency, Most Honorable, Dame Sandra Mason. I was able to appoint 2 very capable, able senators to the upper house, Senator Caswell Franklin and Senator Crystal Drakes, who both did an amazing job. The Senate of Barbados in the last 3 years has done better than any other Senate, however constituted, I think, in terms of personalities in the past. So all I'm saying is, on reflection, I understand now what God was saying all those years back then. Where he takes me from here, I do not know. I always trust him. I don't step ahead of him. What I can tell you that he gives me the boldness and confidence towards him, that whatever door he opens, I can step through, and I believe he will give me the enabling required for whatever function I have to perform. So he knows where we go beyond January 19th. I myself don't know, can't forecast that. There are people who have been telling me God has spoken to them and said to them certain things and said it very definitively. Well, I will accept what they say in good faith as having come from the Lord. But the point I'm making is that whatever God declares, wants, makes possible, I am available to him. Always live like that, available to him. Familiar with that narrative? That was one of the two main narratives that they put abroad out there, that I was sent there to do the will of the government under the guise of being leader of the opposition. The other one was that I was upset because I didn't get a cabinet position. And therefore, there are those around me who were part of my campaign, who all during the campaign will say to you, I said to them then, if you guys are here to help me because you believe I'm going to be in the Barbados Day Party cabinet when the party is elected, and therefore you will get help, you'll get a job, you'll get this somewhere, you need to disabuse your minds of that. I know for a fact I will not be in the Barbados Day Party cabinet, and I am not about that. Far from the party having put me over there, or its leader having asked me to go over there and to take a more or less, what should I say, a pretext, a position of pretext. Far from that, they tried their very level best to get me to stay with him. In fact, all I know, some of them still ask me to come back home. They believe I bleed red, my blood is red, and that the interest of the party still lie at the heart of, the center of my bosom. Look, I am firstly about Barbados. One of the things that I was accused of was being disloyal to the Barbados. I was never disloyal to the Barbados Party. Is that I responded to a higher sense of loyalty. There's a loyalty to my country, a loyalty to God. And I reflect on the past 3.5 years, and I wonder what life would have been like had I not gone over into the opposition. I mean, life for the people of Barbados, because the opposition has been able to lead the charge in stopping certain things in Barbados up until now, or at least bringing to the attention of an uninformed, perhaps a public not paying attention sufficiently enough to what was going on. And I would like to think that the Lord has helped over the last 3.5 years. Certainly Senator Drakes has done a tremendous job as a young woman speaking on economic and financial matters, and people are glowing in their praise about her. I'm so sad that she's not interested in elective politics, and she's a Christian young woman as well. And of course, everybody knows Senator Caswell Franklin, very confrontational, very frank, very fair. And he was the first person that the Lord led me to call when I had to appoint a senator. Not because he shares a Christian perspective with me or even a Christian value system. It's not that. Because I knew that this country would have to go into an IMF relationship if we were to survive. And that once you go into an IMF relationship, then you start to talk about things like working conditions, layoffs, and levels of pay and expenditure of government and stuff like that. You get to deal with all kinds of industrial relations matters. And there's nobody, in my view, better qualified in Barbados than Caswell Franklin to speak to those. And he's the type of personality and disposition that he will be in your face, regardless of who you are. And I like to think that in the last 3.5 years, I said to these two, look, I'm appointing you to the Senate and you'll be opposition senators. Yes. But please, I want you to understand, I'm the type of person, I'm not here to dictate or to bully. You do not have to feel that you must toe the line on issues with me. I will raise issues, confront government, put alternative opinion in the interest of the people of Barbados, as I see it in the lower house. If you have a difference of opinion on whatever matter, and especially if it's one of conscience, please be guided by your own sense of principle. Always speak in the interest of the people of Barbados. And that is what they have done. So a couple of times I've been in one position on an issue and they have been on another. And the world looks at us and says, they're not together. Who's the real leader and all that? It's a nonsense. Because I've said to them on any issue, take your own intelligent view, be sensitive to the needs of the people. That is what comes first. Where I sit or stand, I'll be sensitive to the needs of the people. I'll be very conscious of what I believe God wants me to say and do, and I will act from that perspective. You do the same.
I mean, this is so powerful because for a country who we got, it was 30-0, and you crossed the floor. That the Lord was preparing you from 2006 to take up this position, which you didn't know that this was going to happen. But God would have softened your heart and spoken to you from then. So when the opportunity came, you knew that this was it. And then for you to have that sense of knowing to invite Senator Caswell, to be an opposition senator. Where would we be right now, if we did not have his voice? And so that caused for a lot of, integrity on your part, intuition as a leader, to know that we need to have a voice. We need somebody who is a man of the people. And when you talk on the street to people about Caswell, Senator Caswell, that's what they call him, a man of the people. So yeah. I personally, on behalf of Barbadians, want to say thank you, Reverend Atherley, for having that presence of mind to have that voice in the Senate.
And, just as with Senator Crystal Drakes, I would have wished that Senator Franklin would want to enter into the elective political fray, but he's bent on serving the cause of unionism, and I understand that totally. I think there was a time in his life way back when he would have been interested in elective politics, but he had long passed that. So when I appointed him to the Senate, I knew he had no interest in elective politics. I knew that Senator Drakes had no interest in elective politics. I still did try out both of them, but I respected their opinion and value the contribution that they made in the interest of the people.
Wow, this is warms my heart. Again, don't you feel the love of God for Barbados?
Yes, I do. But I also feel a sense of dread, a sense of pain, because yes, God loves this country and he's blessed us abundantly. And that is one of the things that really irked me, if I may use that language, during the discussion, both public and the parliamentary debate on the proposed charter for Barbados, because I seem to be sensing and hearing in that we have leadership in this country that wants to take us down a path that sets some distance between us and God. Leadership in this country that wants to establish a national resolve on our part, a national spirit on our part, which does not accommodate a sense of God and the fact that he is sovereign. Therefore, we should derive from that an understanding that our discipline, our sense of discipline and values come from him, that we should express and show clear and open devotion for him, and that we have a sense of duty to serve him as we seek to serve each other. And it saddened me that, yes, God loves this country, but we have departed somewhat from that favorite place, if you understand what I'm saying. But because of who he is, that sovereign God extends mercy and grace and keeps us within the bosom of his love. And we must not allow our people to become indifferent to that. And we must not pass on to generations behind us any legacy that is devoid of the sense of God and the place he must hold in the lives of the people of this nation. Well, the constituency in which I will contest the next election is St. Michael Central. And again, it's an interesting story. There are some people outside of St. Michael Central, there are a lot of people who would not know that that is where I grew up and had my early formation, St. Michael Central, in the heart of St. Michael Central. I was born in rural community of Joe's River in St. Joseph. But I moved to St. Michael with my family from quite young, my father and mother, and grew up in Station Hill. So all of my youthful years and my young adult life was fashioned, or would have been fashioned in Station Hill. I have been ministering as senior pastor at a church, which is also located in Hinesbury Road, or some people say Lower Station Hill. Some people even say Upper Bank Hall. And I've been positioned as the senior pastor at this church for the last 3 to 4 decades. So I've had the opportunity to serve people. I've seen them in the times of bereavement, when they were sad, lost loved ones, and they've come to the church for support services and to bury their dead. I've been pleased to do that. and never charged a cent, because I believe it was a service to family in a time of bereavement, service to community. I've been with them not only in times of bereavement, in times of bliss, when they were christening their newborn babies, or when they were being joined together in holy matrimony. And I've been able to participate in all of this and officiate in these contexts. Again, never a cent charge of anybody, because I was here to serve through the church. I've been able to lead that church in the ministry that has a social welfare assistance program. So people get assistance in terms of financial packages. They get assistance in terms of grocery packages and clothing and stuff like that from time to time, depending on the situation. Because ours is a witness which embraces, emanates from a philosophy that, and it's a philosophy to which I personally hold dear. And that is, if you live any day in this life without finding or making the opportunity to do something for somebody outside of your family or yourself, and to do something, whether great or small, if you live any day without finding or making an opportunity to do that, then you have not fully lived that day and should not feel a sense of total fulfillment with respect to that day. That drives me. I try to bring that to the church. So we are very much engaging with the people in the church, with the people in the communities around the church. So St. Michael Central is home for me. I served, of course, since 1999 to 2008, and then from 2018 to now as parliamentary rep of St. Michael West. When I last ran in St. Michael West in 2018, I told many constituents then that that was my last election. I told my work support team that that was my last election. And several of those, of course, the work support team would have been Barbados Party members and supporters. And I told them, please feel no sense of obligation to follow me. My record in representation with respect to St. Michael West is strong. I will compare it with over any time for anybody in any constituency in Barbados. And the monuments, the memorials, infrastructurally are there. I could carry you and point you to them. And so that was coming to an end as far as I was concerned. I actually approached one young man who is now a member of parliament for somewhere else to be my successor in St. Michael West, but he ran somewhere else because I was still in St. Michael West, and he wanted to come ahead of my departure from West. He came and ran somewhere else. But so having decided, and I'll tell you this, it's about 2 years ago, because when I crossed the floor, I had no intention of forming any political party. I went across there simply to construct an opposition force in Barbados to gather people around me from some of the other political parties, UPP, Solutions, even the DLP, that can help me to mount a platform of spokespersons that could critique government policy, but not to form a political, and several of them gathered around me, and we built that structure. But then after about 8 to 9 months, some of them started to say we need to formalize and actually have a political party. But the Lord led me to agree to that. Having agreed to that, he put into my heart that I cannot help these people with the formation of a new political entity and just ride off into the sun. So I knew then I had to run again. And I took a decision under his leading, prayerfully so, about 2 years ago, that I would run in St. Michael Central. And I'll tell you why in a minute. And I didn't say anything because I didn't think it was proper to be the representative for St. Michael West.
Right.
While announcing, and 2 years ago is 4 years ahead of the next general election, while announcing that I was going to be running in St. Michael Central. So I kept that here. Of course, also for political reasons, you don't want your opponents to know what you're about. So I kept that here. Not even my wife knew that. I may not be able to go home if she sees this, but she knows that it is true. And I kept that here. St. Michael Central, because it's a natural affinity for me. When I first sought to venture into elective politics, before I was elected in 1999 in St. Michael West, my interest was in St. Michael Central. But the Barbados Labour Party had a representative already in St. Michael Central. Yeah, so that didn't happen, but it was always there. The other reason is that, especially since 2008, when I was no longer in the Parliament of Barbados, many people from Station Hill, Bashal, Waterford back home. I mean many. Some of them I didn't even know what their political affiliation was or whether or not they were interested in politics. But many of them told me, would you come and run St. Michael Central? That's a fact. I can bring them and let them speak to you. They asked me to come and run in St. Michael Central. So that was there. And I smiled sometimes to myself when I was asked because I knew what was in my heart, but I couldn't say to them, yes, I'm coming. So that's the story.
Wow, wow, this is really, really, really tremendous. And here we are, we now have app,
Yeah.
install the app.
Install the app, upload the app, download the app, whatever you want to do, but take the app.
Take the app, install, download, upload. And there is such a freshness to this. And I'm sure you would have heard, I don't know if you heard Apostle Canterbury talking about, he had a word from God about the, people losing confidence in the two traditional parties. And he had that word from back in the in 2000s, and here we are today. There is such a freshness. And I knew that there were so many Christians prayer groups that were praying about coalitions. And so to now see this coalition being formed, it's just like, what? It's happening right before our eyes. So can you tell us about APP?
Well, APP is the Alliance Party for Progress. And you may ask where the name came from. I remember when I suggested it to the UPP, we had a meeting jointly, UPP and PDP, and I was asked, who gave you that idea for that name? Where'd that come from? I said, well, somebody said it to me, and but you would not understand what I'm talking about. And the Lord put that in my spirit, Alliance,
Wow.
the app. I had 2 or 3 different variations on what the acronym app should mean, but we settled on the one which now you see. But the acronym was in my heart and in my head. The expression of the acronym Alliance Party for Progress came out of consensual discussion. Well, we stand for a newness and a freshness in politics. We certainly believe that corruption is still rife in Barbados. I feel very strongly on that. We have a system of corruption in Barbados, which has become a culture, and it is a bringing together of several elements that establishes what, in my view, constitutes no less than a cesspool of corruption. You're talking about property developers, you're talking about financial institutions, insurance companies, people in the legal profession, people in the political arena. It's a real serious thing. We have to break the back of that corruption culture in Barbados. So we certainly are strongly against that. The app also believes that we need to adopt a far more transparent and highly accountable system of governance that more inclusively so entails the participation of our people outside of the exercise of a 5-year privilege of voting, which can be, as you know, seeing manipulated to suit the interests of a political party. So we stand strongly against corruption. We're very concerned as to where Barbados is going with respect to debt. It is all right to incur debt if you're going to properly spend it on increasing productive capacity. If you can increase in productive capacity, then you can generate revenues, especially so foreign exchange revenues. But we are not in a position to do that. We have no clear platform for growth. We have no clear platform for generating foreign exchange, foreign earned revenue. So we are relying on borrowings, and we are masking that dependence on borrowings behind the fact that we have had to face down the COVID situation. Yes, we would have had to borrow some stuff to face down the COVID situation, but you can't stop there. There's going to be a post-COVID reality in Barbados, and it's going to be a harsh reality because we have not been using the time to build platforms that will trigger growth and earnest foreign exchange. It means your children will have to repay a debt, which is going to be a millstone around their necks. So we are very concerned about the debt situation, about the corruption situation, about the governance situation. And I myself feel personally aggrieved with the calls I hear coming from the Prime Minister in recent days about having, we need to have one government in Barbados and one government leader in Barbados and one Prime Minister. We do have one government. We do have one Prime Minister. So when I hear a call like that, I interpret that as a call to encourage one partyism in Barbados, one party dominance. We do not dare go there with the seeming agenda of the current leadership of the country. We dare not give to this party the opportunity to hold such a dominant position in terms of numbers in the next parliament. If the people's choice is to vote them back into government, then that is the people's say. And once that is done in a proper context and it is all legal, well, if the people decide to do that, and the power lies with the people. But I just feel a sense that God wants to see this country go in a different direction. I pray the people be guided, will feed that instinct and be guided in making a course of correction. We need to rebalance, redress the numbers of the configuration in Parliament and make sure that Barbados' best interest, the things we hold there, the values that we cherish for so a long time are preserved. What I've seen in recent times seems to constitute a pattern that bothers me. Began with the throne speech when there was every indication we're going to establish something called civil unions and we will consider same-sex marriages and we will put it to referendum. We have to do that in order to be compliant with the value system of the world upon which we depend for financing to get us through this life. I decry that. Then secondly, we did what we call the welcome stamp legislation, where we allow people to come here and live and work for a while. And in that, again, we changed the construct of family to include a dimension, an aspect of family called domestic partners. We went on from there to the legislation on anti-discrimination with respect to employment opportunity, and we put it in there again. Then we brought the charter that we were proposing to the country. We removed the reference to the sovereign God that we serve that was there prior. And we introduced a very humanist approach to the way national life is lived out in Barbados. And we introduced notions of fundamental rights attaching to everybody, notwithstanding their sexual orientation. Now, all of this discussion has taken place in Barbados before. And those who were principal in that discussion and who heard from opinions of Barbadians at that time felt reassured enough and assured enough about what they were doing, that they did not put any of that thing in our constitution or in any preamble, or did not establish that as a value system or agenda that we would pursue. But we are at a point now where that is being pushed. If that was not sufficient, we went past the charter and we introduced some legislation about establishing of credit rating agencies in Barbados. And we found it necessary again to put that type of legislation, that type of phrasing and that type of emphasis in there. So it seems that there's a pattern to facilitate the alternative lifestyle agenda in Barbados and all that brings. Well, little by little, we are learning that there's money attaching to that agenda, the advocacy that accompanies that agenda, that there are many who are part of that lifestyle who want places like Barbados to come with their playmates, to engage in perversive sexual kinds of encounters. They want a place like Barbados. They can't go to Jamaica. No. But they want to come down here. And it seems to me that we feel that we have to facilitate them by creating the kind of legislative environment that pleases the world, a world which adopts values which are foreign to us. Your parents and mine, your church and mine did not raise us that way. Even our schools did not raise us that way. But now it seems that we are in a very liberal day, in a very secularist, ultra-humanist type situation where, yes, we can get rid of Massa and become a republic. We can get rid of the monarch and become a republic. And while we're doing that, let's remember, let's get rid of God. No, sir. Thankfully, that some of the independent senators have joined them in their positions from time to time. and have stopped legislation in the Senate. That's happened maybe 3, 4, 5 times. And it's
Wow.
sent back. Yeah.
That is awesome. You know, as we close this interview, and you know, I want to take the opportunity to invite you back at some point. I know you are so busy and you're so in demand, but you know, we would love to invite you back on our Election Express, which is going to be every evening at 7 p.m. And so, any of those evenings, we will discuss with you. You know, to come back to tell us what's happening, etc. But the final thing I want you to just quickly in a minute or so to just talk to the church. What do you want to say to the church today? The people who say, you know what, we shouldn't get involved in this. This is not for us. You know, we shouldn't get involved. What do you want to say to the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ here in Barbados?
I have heard some of that. You know, the Lord gave me the privilege of being the first Christian minister to be elected to the Parliament of Barbados. And there were those who didn't understand my involvement at the time. I've always said to people, you don't have to go anywhere to be involved in politics. You know, the major decisions of government policy are taken in Barbados in the context of the political process, political institutions, and they're implemented and executed in the political context. You don't have to go anywhere to be involved in politics. The Christian who believes that Christians should not be involved in politics, not understanding. Politics will come right through your front door uninvited because politics has determined that you can have a front door. There's some people who don't own their own homes. These decisions come out of the political process. If you don't own your own home, you don't have a front door. If the house is not yours, you don't have a front door. Politics determine whether or not you can have a front door. And politics comes through that front door. It will enter into the very privacy of your bedroom, and it will determine how well you sleep or if you can sleep. Because if you're a husband or boyfriend and you don't have a job and there are 3 hungry children, you're not going to sleep well. It is a political process that is making it possible or impossible, difficult for you to get that job. So politics will come and touch us. We don't have to go anywhere. And it will determine where and if your children can be educated. Political decisions govern the processes that govern our lives. So we are exposed. And I think, therefore, the church has a role to influence the political process. The best way to do it is by participating. And the Bible endorses that. Pray for governments, participate in government. Jesus was the social, before I said once to the minister of social transformation, first minister of social transformation on this earth was Jesus Christ himself. And you read the book of Luke in Luke's Gospel, chapter 4, talks about getting people out of prison. Yeah, talks about responding to those who are poor, needy, and all this, preaching the gospel to the poor, bringing change, not only spiritual change, but social change, atmosphere change around people, bringing that to people's reality so that they come to that better life that gives them a context out of which they can give God thanks and praise. That is what it's about. I've lamented that the church has not been involved sufficiently, but I think I'm seeing signs now that we are coming away.